Again. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. It's a great session, sort of simple in a way, so it's probably not going to be a super long one tonight. This is actually kind of one that might trigger more questions that probably would be very individualized, I think. So my goal is actually giving you all exactly what I do with each of my girls this time of year. I'm lucky for them. They get to go through this with me. I've had a few already turn theirs in. Actually, it's what I will be doing tomorrow, which will be to go over this with each of them individually. I give them feedback. My job isn't necessarily to change what they say, but it is sometimes to give them maybe feedback on how to maybe answer it a little bit better, or I hate to say better, but maybe what I was intending on them to take. Actually, we went over this last week so that they could maybe answer it a little bit better the first time, or sometimes just to kind of find out what it is that they're thinking. It helps me get to know them a little bit better as well. And then a big thing that this assignment does for them as well, and you all out there, is to gives you something great to email the coaches about. Some of you who are current, maybe freshmen, sophomores, juniors, it's a little bit of a slower time in the process right now. So it could be a great thing to email about the coaches is, hey, what did you look at this past year that you learned? And what are your plans for 2025 from a goal setting thought perspective going into 2025? So that's really the goal of this tonight. I know there are some that might be wanting to think or talk a little bit more in terms of like tournaments and what to play in and all of that. We're not really going to dive too much into that. That is something if you wanted to talk about, again, that's so individual. We'll touch on that a little bit, but the goal is talking a little bit more about kind of reflection planning on a little more goal setting, mindset, holistic kind of piece of things, and from a recruiting perspective as well, because that's what I do. So let's hop in and get started. Let me get all of these thousands of windows, as you all can't see yet. I'm just laughing at how many windows I have to minimize before I can even get to my screen to share with you all. Okay, let me share my screen here. All right, here we go. All right, let me get it to play now. Okay, so like I said, a little bit of 2024 reflection and planning for 2025. Again, um, for some of you, this first screen's a little bit about me. If you don't know me yet, I have been with the Peggy Kirkbell Girls Tour now for, how we talked about the other day, almost, I think, going on 12 years now. I've had my business since 2011, as you'll see on here. So I'm going into next year, I think will be starting my 14th year that I have been working in this industry. Actually, more than that, because I did work for one of the big college recruiting, big recruiting services out there that a lot of you may be familiar with. So I got into this industry after I had played professionally, coming out of college for about 7 years, 8 years that I played professionally. I played at Furman University, had a pretty good collegiate career, especially at the very end of that time period. So it really gave me the confidence to go into LPJQ school, where I did get full status coming straight out of college. Played full year of LPGA Tour 2004, and then back and forth for the remaining time up until I started doing this. Really did not plan on giving up playing. Had actually kind of gotten my groove back out on the LPGA Tour again in 2000, a little bit in 2008, and then in 2009 again. Missed keeping my tour status by one position out there. Finished 126 on the money list, which is how it was back then. You had to finish in the top 125 to at least have status. Didn't play good in Q school that year. And you go right back to square one as if like you never had status at that year at all. And just really got a passion for doing this and working with the girls. Well, at that time it was the boys and the girls. Really wanted to focus on working with the girls eventually, and partnered up with the PKB. I think it was 2012, and have been partnered with the PKB ever since then. And the last 6 or 7 years have been able to focus strictly on just consulting, mentoring, guiding all of you young ladies out there through this college recruiting process, which can be very daunting for sure, but it can also be such a great learning process. That's what I love about it. I know that's probably what the girls don't love about it, and even you all parents, is it can be a tough process. I'm hearing it from a lot of 2026s right now. I'm getting some reaching out to me, gosh, I think this process is over. We've missed our window. And I work with 20 to 30 full-time clients every year per recruiting class, and I see kind of the trends. I spend a lot of time with the college coaches, talking to them, picking their brains. It's what I live and breathe. So I hear a lot of it, see a lot of it. It can definitely be stressful, but it can also be such a growth time period if you'll take it and take it on. So again, as you can tell, I do love this. I love to see what goes on in this process and how it goes. And like I said, there's definitely a lot about it. But this is a little bit about me, my background, just so you can kind of see. Love working out, love my family. That's them up there from Thanksgiving this year. And that's my four current dogs, two of my personal dogs, two of my foster dogs. And then, like I said, I've got one more hanging out with me this week. So just a little bit about me, so you know. All right, let's dive in. As I said, I'm basically just going to walk you through what my worksheet looks like that I do with the girls, just give you some insight. So if you want to write these down, you're more than welcome to write them down and work on them yourself. But just kind of going to do that and just talk to you a little bit about why I ask these questions, what they mean, and how you can kind of use them yourself. So, very first one is, what word or phrase sums up your 2024? So, just coming up with something. I've gotten some great ones on this. I've gotten some funny ones. Somebody recently just said progress was their word, and I love that. So again, just simply writing down a word or phrase that just sums up your 2024. So that's kind of our starting point for when we do this. So that's the very first question I have the girls do. The next one is, the biggest surprise of the year, good or bad. As you kind of see, again, we're kind of doing these as you pop one up at a time, but as you see this, as it's laid out all together, you can kind of then go back and see that some things are positives, some things are a little more on, I don't like to use the word negative, but on the more tougher learning side of things, the mistakes, I like to call them the oops moments. But what was the biggest surprise of the year? What was things that maybe good again, good or bad, something that really just, again, caught you off guard or really just something you didn't expect that happened throughout this past year. What was the biggest challenge you overcame? So again, whether it was, a lot of times some of the girls did have some kind of injury or medical thing this, over the year that they had to come up, overcome. That's definitely been a big trend that I have seen a lot of girls answer here. Um, again, this could be, and I always tell the girls too, when they fill these out for me, I'm happy for them to, really take their time on these and sometimes talk about different areas of things, so you may have had challenge in school and you may have had something as a golfer that are two totally different things, or maybe personally. So sometimes even taking this to a level of like looking at it as two and three different pieces of things rather than all of this just being a golf thing too. So, you may have totally different challenges in each part of your life as well that are, totally different stories. Or maybe you didn't have that much of a challenge in one area, but you really had a big challenge in another part. So again, this actually on my worksheet says mistake, and I will actually every year as I do these, I kind of make some different tweaks to it for the next year. So I changed it to the biggest oops you had this year. I don't have a big issue with calling things mistakes or regrets. I'm not a big person that says you shouldn't have regrets in your life. I definitely, personally have a lot of things I look back on that I 100% regret doing. Do I, I certainly feel like everything's led up to who I am and I can't change them and I don't live in the past and don't, beat myself up about them, but could I go back and do things differently? 100%. I wish I had. I'm not going to go down and dive down the dark hole of my life. I mean, that I share a lot about it and I've built my business around a lot of things I wish I had done better and had known better for sure. Um, but I don't have a big issue with calling them mistakes, but just out of keeping things a little more lighthearted, we're gonna call these the biggest oops that you had. And, something that, again, we're not necessarily just a, shot on the golf course. And again, this may not be one specific thing, but, maybe just something that you really look back on this year that you were just like, I really just kind of dropped the ball there. Or again, maybe this is the one before this could maybe go hand in hand, but it may just be some little something that you did, some little oops that you had, but just something you might can look at that you did, that you learned from, that you really know that you had to kind of look at and see that you did have a big growing moment that was something maybe not necessarily a challenge in terms of an injury that was totally out of your control, but maybe something that was more in your control that you really did kind of drop the ball on is more of what I look at from here. So then we're gonna kind of shift gears a little bit, still in the reflection side of things, but maybe a little more on the positive side of things here. But what are three goals or things you accomplished in 2024? So, more tangible things. And again, these don't have to always be, I won a tournament. These can be even things on the bigger just side of things that you just got better at. I want to hit this next one because again, these two go hand in hand, and this is where I actually try to separate these two. Um, so habits that you improved can be a little different than the goals. So the goals would be more of those in things, where you did win a tournament or you did maybe as some of my girls, I do have my seniors do this. Maybe they did commit or sign their not NLI anymore, sign their scholarship commitment or scholarship agreement. So things that they did actually accomplish. But then on the next question, I want to ask them a little more about habits that they improved over the course of 2024. And you're going to see when we look on the 2025 planning, one reason why I ask these things in the different kind of sense is starting to look at things a little bit different for your habits, your intentions, or what help you accomplish your actual goals. So, do these things kind of go hand in hand? What were your habits and things that you were doing daily that did get better over the year that hopefully or probably did help you accomplish those goals that you actually did that were the more end goal, whether scores or maybe somebody was doing something to need to, lose weight or eat healthier or get stronger in the gym, or, if it's a school thing, you needed your grades to get better. So you started studying more, or your time management got better and you weren't staying up as late at night so you could get more sleep. All these little things. Those are some of those habits that then you say your GPA got better. So something like that. So again, those habits that need to improve in order for those goals to actually become accomplished. And then looking at, how have you changed over the past year? And this is where I actually have them break it down into athlete, student, and person. Each different one looking at it individually and different ways for how have they changed over the past year as each individual aspect of them as a whole, basically. So what's something in some different ways that they have. And then last on the 2024 reflection side of things is what are some current feelings closing out 2024? This is really where I do like for them to kind of sit there and really just reflect about it. Again, kind of depends on, 10th grade obviously looks a little different than 11th grade, ninth grade, eighth grade. You're still a little kind of naive to the process maybe versus those 10th graders, 11th graders look a little bit different. A senior, looks a little different. So it's always really interesting to see them at different stages of the process and how they feel. But what really are those feelings closing out another year based on kind of where they were, where they are in the process, where they are in their games, maturity, different things like that. So I'm always really interested to see what this says and how they feel about it. So, all right, we'll flip into getting ready to kind of lean into a new year, new things going on, new happenings. Again, same thing, different for different grad years. So that kind of looks different. So based on all of this, just again, we're starting a little more general here. What are you going to do different in 2025? What's some different ways to look into 2025 and just a more outlook on what you plan to do in 2025 that's going to look a little different. What are you most excited about and looking forward to? Of course, when you look at this from a recruiting perspective, That can be a lot of the girls look at, I want to commit. They may have some specific things that in mind there. Some maybe if they are current sophomores, I'm looking forward to the process starting. That can be it when we're looking at things from a recruiting perspective, can certainly be what it is. Again, that can branch out into different things, looking at tournaments and that kind of stuff as well. Um, when they're looking at and answering these things from a recruiting specific thing. Some have other things, obviously, outside of golf that they include in this as well, which is great too. Excuse me. Um, I also like to, some people I think maybe don't like to use some of these words or sometimes try to suppress some things or again just like I don't have a problem calling out the mistakes or whatever that might be, but I like to go ahead and say, okay, well, what are you anxious or nervous about? What are some things, especially for me and in what I'm trying to do with them, I kind of want to know, what are you anxious or nervous about? Go ahead and let's get it out on the table. Help, let me maybe go ahead and help you kind of address them. Again, we're not going to just tackle that and get those fears and anxiety out of the way, like right off the bat, for sure. That's part of something that, from a recruiting perspective, why I try to get the girls to start the process a little bit early sometimes to maybe help us get over some of those anxious nerves a little bit. Start to kind of work through some of those feelings sooner than later sometimes. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Those feelings stick around a whole lot longer than we want them to. But just going ahead and addressing it, what it is, put it out on the table. I know for me, I was bad about like suppressing this. I'd always say, no, I'm not nervous. I'm not anxious. Come to find out, I'm actually uh, an anxious person, a medically anxious person. And the more I talk about it and acknowledge it, the more it eases me. And so again, the more I think you can get it out there and talk about it and understand it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it, makes it a little bit better. So I like for them to go ahead and talk about it. And if they say, hey, maybe it's okay if you're not too. It's okay if you're just chill and relax about it too. If that really is how you feel, then hey, like that's awesome too. If you said, hey, like I'm really just kind of feeling good about it right now, like, hey, like then great too. Like that's awesome. Like let's ride with that too for as long as we can. And nothing wrong with that too. So, but just getting, maybe you're more anxious and nervous about something separate. The recruiting piece feels pretty good to you. You're more anxious and nervous about grades or maybe personal life or something like that. So totally normal for that too. So um but again, we're gonna move on into the goal side of things. So same thing here. I'm gonna hit these two up together. So looking into more specific goals for 2025. And this is where, I may have some girls, even though they're understanding a little more about the difference in goals versus, this habits and intentions, even though I still can even consider habits and intentions can also be called goals as well. Your goals every day can be just simply to, accomplish these little things every day. Goals have definitely become a very blanketed word for sure. Some people don't like to even have these long-term goals or these outcome goals. I definitely don't like to emphasize those as much. There for a while, I don't know if anybody's read the book, Burn Your Goals. And it's all about, like don't even focus on them, just start with what you can do every day. I do think you've got to have a sense of something that you're looking forward to, start there and then work your way back. So really even those specific intentions and habits are really actually goals as well. But if you can maybe try to look at them in a different way and maybe put it still back into a little more elementary terms of goals for what most people are always going to think about. When you say, what are your goals? It's going to be those outcome, longer down the road things that you're trying to do, whether it's win tournaments, shoot certain scores, play D1 golf, play at a certain school, whatever that is, that's usually what everybody's going to go to. But the more specific you are with those, though, is a big thing. And timely and those kinds of things, the more likely it is that you're going to accomplish them. And then when you take that and break it down even more, and I only put 5 here and then 5 and habits on each, but really if you take that one specific goal, then you would need to break it down into 5 habits. And really, you really need to just keep breaking them down even more and more, all the way down to like every single day, every single week. What are you doing? If you really want to reach those. I mean, if you say you've got a certain score you want to get to or win a tournament, and then you should be breaking it down into what am I doing, weekly with my practice, what areas of my game should I be working on? Do you have a stats app that you're following? Are you working with your swing coach? Is he or she working with you on your course management? Are you working out? Are you doing all these certain things? Not to go overboard. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a hang out in the middle kind of person. What are you doing all these things to really help you reach those goals? But for semi-simplistic sake, I do 5 specific goals and then just 5 habits. Um, Overall, I say specific, but we're still actually going to be very general here. Well, 5 habits and intentions to help you achieve your goals. So again, this is still actually fairly broad in this, but within each one, trying to be as specific as possible with what intentions and habits will help you reach these goals. So just the goal with this too, area goal. That word, like I said, that word definitely gets abused, I think. But uh, it's trying to just at least get you started with acknowledging things that you need to do better. If you want to take this, you're going to see the last little bit of this for where I'd say, hey, where can I help? But if you want to take this and really be accountable and really at least start out on the right foot, then like I said, you write these down. You write weekly things. You go from a next step with this. But again, this gets you started. And then as simple as, what's a good quote, like mantra, word that you want to focus on in 2025? This is something a lot of people do. You have a lot of people who write their resolutions for 25, but another one that everybody does sometimes is picks a word. This is something you might write on your golf bag, write somewhere that you're going to see, something just to focus on, something that you just feel like you can go back to. Some people change it. Some people start out with something and then they feel like their direction in the year changes. That's okay, I think. But something just to start out to focus on, a quote, a word, something to really get you to focus and keep your intentions and everything where you need them to be as you head into 2025 and go throughout 2025 based on where you are with your game, recruiting, personal life, all of those things. And here's the last part, which again, this is what I asked my girls. I actually added this. This is new to my sheet because again, a lot of times I just assume all of my players know this is what I'm here for. I specifically put it on the sheet this year for them to do this. And of course, even here for you all who's on here, the next slide will kind of help you take this step if you want to, but I put this on here for them, hey, how can I help them do this? Whether it's how can I help you be accountable for these things you're putting on here? How can I help you with the recruiting piece to do better, do more? I'm a little limited from the golf game side of things. Most of my girls are all over the country, some even out of the country. Not a whole lot I can do to help their game get better besides just be there as a little bit of a cheerleader and a little support mentally, mentorship wise, try to help ease the recruiting piece, but also a lot of times it makes it a little more stressful with what I'm there to do and kind of keep them going and keep them understanding what that looks like and just push them a little bit and get them to really take ownership of it. But again, what could I do? You as parents out there who are, doing this, obviously that's something that you can do without being too involved, but just, asking your daughter, where as you parents, where can you help them? Letting them know that you're there to help as much as possible, but yet like, say, hey, we don't want to overstep. So, do you want us to help you stay on top of these goals? Do you want us to check in? Do you want us to hold you accountable for these things? That's something you as parents can help to do as well. And find out where your daughter wants you to be a part of and where not. And then, if they're not doing it, then, reminders of them to them, hey, this is, what you say you want to do, if you're not doing it, there's definitely tough lines there. I know as parents for what the girls say they want to do and what they're not doing and wanting to help. I know that's a tough one. So maybe sometimes writing these things down, having it out, it's good reminders. Hey, this is what you say you want to do. Well, this is what you got to be doing, and continue to just kind of keep checking in on that. So hopefully though, this gives you a good starting point for it. This is a little same screen, but this does, if you want to scan the QR code from your phone, or if you go to my website, all of the Recruit PKB national members and really anybody who's interested in working with me. Now, the Recruit PKB initial 30-minute consultation has a little bit of an outline that we actually get a little bit into the intro to the process. We go through the steps of the intro to the process, or if you're interested in just working with me, either way, I'm always happy to hop on a call. You can sign up for a 30-minute call, but this QR code takes you to my online questionnaire, which is the easiest way for us to get started. So if you want to scan that or go to my website, or you can go through the Recruit PKB website as well, that's tied into pkbgt.org as well. Either way, leave that up for just another second before I stop sharing my screen and just go back to the video. All right, I'll back over here. But again, that's available if you do want to schedule that. I'm available some through the holidays. Not a whole lot between Christmas and New Year's, just between both of those holidays. And then I will actually be on site for the Pine Needles event. So if you're there for that, I will be there. I'll be there for a good bit of practice round day. We'll do the seminar. We do a really good event the practice round night. And then I'll be around for part of the first round before I'll head back. I think my nephew a lot of times comes up with me for that. He always looks forward to that. So I do plan to be there for that. So if anybody's going to be there for that and would like to set something up, sometimes I can work it in. It's honestly easiest to do these initial consultations through Zoom. It's just once the girls are on site playing, I hate to just I love meeting everybody and talking and being introduced and chatting a little bit, but to sit down and have these like hard conversations about recruiting sometimes during tournaments is not the best time because sometimes you have to kind of be the bearer of bad news a little bit sometimes for like where they are in the process. And I don't like always doing that. And then sometimes it's just hard timing wise. So if we can't do that, love to meet though. I'll be there, but we can always set up those 30-minute calls via Zoom. It's a little bit easier anyways, just to have a little better time to kind of focus. So again, happy to do that if anybody's interested. Otherwise, hopefully this was a great kind of insight on the planning, the reflection and planning topic. And I will just kind of allow though more for the Q&A if you've got those questions to reach out via the 30-minute consultation because I feel like most any of these questions are going to be a little more individual and specific just given this topic. So we will cut it off at that and right at 30 minutes, which is perfect timing, just short and sweet. I know everybody in the middle of holiday time, it's a crazy time. Keep in mind, I'm going to be doing these. We have these scheduled now, third Monday of every month. It'll be a different topic. Some will be really recruiting specific, some will be a little bit different. But just keep that in mind, going to be doing a lot more. So I'm looking forward to a new year, lots going on. So thank you all for joining. I am always excited to do these and get some education out there. So everybody have a great night.